So I can't believe it's only been a year since I've been in Congress. It has been a busy 2019. As many of you know, I ran my campaign to work hard to get rid of the state and local tax deduction cap, to get our healthcare costs down here in New Jersey, and to get our infrastructure funded. So the final 12 legislative days of the year, I was down on the floor talking about salt each and every day and bringing it to the attention of my caucus. And I'll tell you, not everyone in the caucus really knew much about salt. There were some states that weren't as affected. So I told them again and again and again how much of a punishment it was to New Jersey, how I have retired teachers saying they just had a $5,000 increase in their taxes this year because of it, how hard it's hitting us. And the second to last vote of the year, and let me tell you, it is really hard to get a bill on the floor in that final week of Congress. Everybody's trying to do it. The second to last vote we took in 2019 was to get rid of the state and local tax deduction cap. The House of Representatives passed that bill. I was sitting in the Speaker's chair as we did it, so I'm proud to report that. And I think all of you not clapping, it's because you're thinking, how are we going to get it through the Senate? That is my 2020 mission. We are going to be working on that. It has to build a lower healthcare cost and prescription drug costs. I'll tell you too that, and that one I have hope, there is a Senate companion bill that has some of the same things in it. I'm very hopeful that we can at least get some of that legislation passed in 2020. And next week we start the infrastructure bill. I have seen the proposals for that bill, and sure enough, there is support for our Gateway Tunnel project in that. The largest freshman class in decades. We worked hard to change the way Washington does business. Because you all didn't just send me to Washington to get legislation passed through the House. You sent me to Washington to work with partners and get bipartisan legislation signed into law by the President of the United States. And that's what I've worked to do. So even in one of the most partisan Congresses that we have had, I've passed 4 pieces of legislation that have been passed through the Senate and signed into law by the President. For a freshman congressperson, that is one of the higher rates of success. So we have the family-to-family health centers, so people with children suffering from disabilities know where to go so they can receive the services they need. We passed the Iron Dome legislation so that we can protect our troops in the fields from missile attacks. We passed SASTA. SASTA was a bill I sponsored out of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee because we need to make sure that we have some of the brightest minds in the world coming here to study, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we can protect proprietary information that our universities have from federal funding. And I passed legislation to get the armament school at Picatinny Arsenal accredited so we can continue to draw some of the best talent in the world to Picatinny Arsenal. These are the kind of things that you can get done if you work hard and reach across the aisle and find those partners. So we in the freshman class are trying to, once again, renew the appetite for bipartisan legislation in the House, and we are starting to make some progress. And so in this year, I will be sitting again on the House Armed Services Committee. We passed a piece of legislation, a must-pass piece of legislation called the National Defense Authorization Act. I have already been talking to my Republican colleagues about that piece of legislation and what we need to do to work in a bipartisan way to get it passed.